It's going to work really, really well today. Good. I'm glad you guys are staying too. Perfect. All right. Good morning. It's great to be together. It's funny, it was my fault, and yes, I was aware that my microphone was not on when I did but thank you for putting up with every week. I forget something, don't I? So thanks for that. It's good to be together. Let me think how I want to start. We'll pray, and then we'll get rolling here. All right. Most gracious God, thank you. Thank you for the gift of this day. Thank you for the gift of each other. Lord, my hunch is we take that entirely for granted, that we are part of a community of people. We have people who love us and love you, and there are a lot of people who don't have that. Thank you for that. Thank you for the gift we have of being together this morning. Lord, we ask and we thank you for the gift of your table, that your body was broken and your blood was shed so that we could be connected to the one true God. Thank you for loving us with such a sacrificial love as that. Lord, thank you for our daily lives. Thank you for our jobs and for those of us that are in school. Thank you for our families. Thank you for the contexts you've placed us in, for the people around us, the situations, the good things and the bad. Lord, that's our life. That's the life you want. That's the life where we're asked to follow you, not some other life that doesn't exist. So help us to wrestle with what that means today. Lord, we pray for the one who teaches, that you would forgive him his sins, for they are many. We have come to this place to see Jesus and him only. And it's in Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So this morning I'm going to tell you just a little bit, and I asked permission if I could do that. Typically, unless you're a member of my family, I won't embarrass you without asking. If you're a member of my family or a really close friend, yeah, then I sometimes don't ask permission. But I asked permission because it's a wonderful family. I don't know if you had a chance to get to know the Nagy family yet, but they're just a really nice family, and we're just grateful that they're here. RJ was the one I told you before that built our cross Holy Week, and it was just a neat gift, and I didn't expect it, and they've been an encouragement and a blessing to me. So I'm grateful for that. So Easter week, Taylor is involved in Second Story. Taylor's the high school person. She is a great lacrosse player, and the week before Easter, is that right? She was playing in a game, and I can kind of feel this as I describe it, because I have the same injury that she had that night. She's playing lacrosse, and was it cold? Was it cold and rainy? Was it wet that night? Yeah. And she goes to plant to make a cut on her right knee, and her right knee gives out, and she tore her ACL. Did you tear your meniscus too? No meniscus tear. That's good news. And I'm sorry that happened. It makes me sad. I tore my ACL in a silly pickup football game and with nobody watching. So I mean, it was and so it made me sad, because I've been through. My boys played high school sports, and I've been through injuries, and I know how hard that is for you, but then I also know how hard that is for mom and dad and grandma and younger brother, and it's just hard. It's hard to have something at the start of something come to an end, and so the way you, Taylor, the way you have handled that, and the way your mom and dad and family have handled that has been like I've learned from you how to handle adversity, because I'm not very good at that. So thank you for that. That is a cool thing. That's a neat thing to see, the grace by which you still show up, and it's like you volunteer for the concession stand. So like you still show up and run the concession stand, because that's when you still show up and cheer on your teammates, and because that's what you do. That's being part of a team, and that's a good and beautiful thing. But every once in a while you get a glimpse of something that like is good and beautiful and points to Jesus. And that's kind of what I've seen through this whole situation. So the night that happened, and I didn't hear about this till after the fact, but the night that happened, a group of Taylor's friends, some from Second Story from the youth group, and then some just because she's a neat kid, and is it okay if I call you a kid? All right. She's a neat kid, and people love her. There's like this little group of high school folks who go and show up at the emergency room while she's getting treated. Because at that point, they just knew she hurt her knee. They didn't know what. And they just, what can you can't say anything. Your words just, what do you say? I'm sorry. But your presence, wow. Your presence in moments like that communicates a lot, doesn't it? Your presence, the idea of showing up when you don't have to, the idea of showing up and being present in another person's life. Wow, does that speak volumes? So that's a cool thing. And that's the story of my life. I had someone show up in my life at a time when I didn't think I had anything to offer or to give. And somebody showed up, and then they stayed with me and loved me. And then at a point where they loved me, eventually I asked them why. And once I asked why, they didn't beforehand, but once I asked why, then they told me about Jesus. So pay attention in your life. Pay attention to the everyday, ordinary moments and see if there aren't glimpses of the goodness and the beauty and the truth of this one we call Jesus and his kingdom. Celts used to call it thin places where the divide between the secular and the divine is thin, and you can actually see glimpses of what's more. Yeah, that's what I saw through Taylor and her family and through those Second Story students who just showed up in her life. I learned from them about what does it look like to follow Jesus. Not so many times in our lives, we want to follow Jesus somewhere else. And I'm not saying mission trips to other countries, whatever, those are all well and good, I'm sure, but mission, following Jesus, always begins with your family and your friends and those closest to you and works itself out from there. Look, it always starts with your life, where you are, what's going on right now, right around you. Start there. That's where you begin. That's where it begins. So our text this morning, I guess let me say this. So this morning I want to encourage you to live a questionable life. Some of you are like, all right, I've been waiting for that my entire life. Way to go, Pastor. And if we would stop there, you will greatly misunderstand what I'm trying to say. I want you to live a questionable life, and that I want you to live the kind of life that shows up on, is it a Wednesday night? Wednesday night or Thursday night? Wednesday night? Wednesday night, late, when you got to be up early for school the next day, but you show up at an ER because one of your friends just might need you. You don't even know if you'll see them, but you just want to be a presence. It's inconvenient. I want to encourage you to lead the kind of life that causes people around you to say, what is with him or her? And somebody else that knows you better might say, oh yeah, he's with Jesus. And it's a good thing. By a questionable life, I don't mean that I want you to be a weirdo. It's not what I'm condoning. Some people through the centuries have thought that's the answer. That's not the answer. But live a life that's attractive and compelling and that pulls and draws others in. The passage. This is just a great passage. So Paul has a young protege, and his name's Timothy. And Timothy is in charge of some local congregations. And Timothy probably is in I've heard estimates anywhere from in his early 20s to his 30s. So he's a young man. He's been thrust into this leadership position. And Paul is encouraging him with these words. I think it has a lot to apply to you and to me. Paul says this: don't let people look down on you because you are young. See that they look up to you because you are an example to them in your speech and behavior, in your love and faith and sincerity. Let me read that again. Don't let people look down on you because you are young. See that they look up to you because you are an example. That's such a great, an example, a demonstration. If you weren't allowed to use words, would people still see Jesus by the way they're treated when they're in your presence? If you couldn't talk about it, if you couldn't put words to it, would people experience Jesus just by being around you, by being with you? That's what I saw that. That's what I saw when I heard that story. There's this goodness, this compellingness, this like, yes, I want friends like that. I want to be a person like that. Don't let people look down on you because you're young or because you're old, because you're middle-aged or because you're out of work or because you don't have the job you want or you fill in. Don't let people look down on you. See that they look up to you because you are an example to them in your speech and behavior. The word there, the idea is the idea of our conduct. That we're to demonstrate goodness and truth by the way we live. And that's like a 24/7 thing. That's not something where we just do a little bit. We're to demonstrate it all the time. It's like Walmart. My favorite example is how do you treat the people that serve you? How do you treat the people at Wendy's or McDonald's or Walmart or the people that mess up your order in the drive-thru? You got a Big Mac and you ordered a quarter pounder and you think, how dare they? Oh, how do you treat those people in those moments? And in those moments, will that person experience Jesus from you? Don't just talk about it. In fact, I would argue that a lot of times when we talk about Jesus, we end up blowing the whole thing. If it's not compelling, if it's not gracious, if we don't have the life to back it up, are we helping move Jesus' kingdom forward? Or are we somehow pushing it back? Whoa, there's an edge here. I'm not used to that edge. That would have been a first. And Jamie would have laughed. Wouldn't you? Yeah, see? Demonstrate in your conduct, your speech, your behavior, and your love. Concentrate until my arrival on your reading and on your preaching and your teaching. Never forget that you received the gift of proclaiming God's word when the assembled elders laid their hands on you. Give your whole attention, all your energies to these things. Does it sound like this is important to Paul? Does it sound like it's important to Paul for Timothy not just to act, but to be a certain kind of person? All your energies to these things so that your progress is plain for all to see. Keep a critical eye both on your own life and on the teaching that you give. And if you continue to follow the line I've indicated, you will not only save your own soul, but the souls of many of your hearers as well. It's a cool thing, cool line. So your life speaks. Have you ever heard that phrase? So what you're doing speaks so loudly that I can't hear what you say? Yeah. I don't know who said that. Yeah. Our lives speak loudly. Our words will always, for people of Jesus, our words will always be important. But we can't be the kind of people who talk one way and live another. Do you remember, who was good in high school geometry? Who was like an expert? Drew? Mikey? So this is all I remember. I remember one word. I remember two words: theorems and congruence. In geometry, do you remember where you had to set those? Were those theorems that you had to set up, and you had to make sure that everything on this side was congruent with everything on this side? Do you remember that? Oh, no? Some of us, nope, don't even remember that, Pastor. No, I get that. That's okay. So congruence is a great word. Jesus intends for our words to be congruent with our lives. There should be this compellingness. There should be this, our words should be gracious and kind and encouraging and lifting people up and tell the truth and loving. They should be all those things. But if that's not backed up with a life, they will ring short. They will fall short in terms of convincing people that what we believe about Jesus is really true. Just great lady. In fact, Marianne, this is somebody I was going to have you read. Her name is Marva Dawn. And Marva Dawn, I don't know if she has MS, but she's been in a wheelchair for a while. And Marva has this beautiful spirit where even through all of her difficulty, she draws you to Jesus. And Marva said this. She said, one main reason why people outside of Christian spirituality aren't attracted to it is because we, meaning Jesus people, don't demonstrate a way of life different enough to warrant belief. Everyone in our culture has too much to do, so why should anyone bother with becoming a student of Jesus or going to church on Sunday mornings if Christians don't demonstrate that following Jesus is the best way to live? Christians, that's it. It's a good question. It's a really good question, isn't it? If we're not demonstrating that life with Jesus is the very best, and that doesn't mean putting on like this smiling face all the time, even though life really stinks. Sometimes I think just being honest and genuine and authentic with people, even when life is really hard, is the best thing that we can do. It's funny, last week I mentioned my own failure, how mad I got at our old dog. You would not believe how many of you came up last week and just said, Pastor Mark, thank you for saying that. Thank you for letting me see that. Oh my gosh, if you'd known, you could see that kind of stuff every day. Yeah, thank you for letting me know that there are these big gaps in your life too. I don't think I would have put it quite that way, but I would have put, and I had to correct him. I said, well, they're not really big gaps. They're. But isn't that funny how we want to do that? Like we want to, yeah, big gaps. Yeah. We can be honest with people, but we want to help people see and experience the good news of Jesus, not just hear about it. We're to be conduits. We've got all kinds of things. Your life, the one that you're living now, is the life that Jesus wants to transform, to be present in. And Jesus wants to take your life and use it as a demonstration as you go about your everyday, ordinary stuff. You're going to work, going to school life. He wants to take that life, and because he lives inside of you now, and because you're full of his Spirit, you've been told you're full of other things, I'm sure, in your life. Well, you're also, when you become a student of Jesus, he says he comes to reside in you. He lives in you. You're also full of Jesus and his Spirit. He wants to use your ordinary, everyday life to expose him, to express himself to others. That's how it works. We demonstrate by our actions, by what we care about, by what we do. It's not in the best case, it's like we don't even try to do it. It's just the way that we are. It's not about adding one more thing. It's just about the way we conduct our lives and allowing the Spirit to flow through us. So a couple things. I'm going to ask a couple questions, and then I'll close with a quick story. Have you ever just taken time to sit with Jesus and say, Jesus, just mold me, shape me, make me into the person that you created me to be? And And then just use me in the lives of the people around me. Just open opportunities, give me opportunities to serve you. May people, even if I don't open my mouth, would you help me to be the kind of person where people could just see you as a living presence in me? And maybe we'll want to ask some questions about that. Think of. Let me read this story first. So, my guess is all of us have someone in our lives who need to be reminded that he or she is loved. So again, I'm just thinking one. Who is someone in your life who you can demonstrate the goodness, the reality, the truth, the beauty of Jesus and his love for them? I read this week. It was funny. In fact, I just read this yesterday. Listen to this. It's so good. All of us have someone in our lives who needs to be reminded. There are people who are dead and need resurrection. Strangers, classmates, couples, preachers, single moms who've come to the end of themselves and want to quit. If you can't think of at least one name right now, I beg you to go for a walk in your neighborhood. Open your eyes and look around. Open your eyes and look around. Go to an AA meeting or a convalescent home, or check your Facebook page. Folks, there are people all around us who don't need to hear only, but need to experience the good news of Jesus. And they're going to be the people that are closest to us. They're going to be people that we might otherwise overlook. So ask, have you ever heard of the phrase, your sphere of influence? Any of you in the business world has. All of us have a sphere of influence, right? All of us have this little circle where, and we can even, our sphere of influence is probably close to what our kingdom is. We all rule. We all have certain things we have dominion over that we're in charge of. Well, your sphere of influence are those people you're most likely to impact. Who are those people closest to you within that sphere of influence that God can use you in their lives to demonstrate goodness? Where is beauty needed? Where is restoration needed? Where is reconciliation needed? Where is hope needed? Who needs encouragement in my sphere of influence today? Where is a simple or quiet word needed? Where is the announcement of the good news of Jesus' kingdom story needed? We said it during the offering. We say it a lot. Our lives are intended to push back the effects of the fall, to push back the dark. And we do that best by demonstrating, by living. So making disciples, followers of Jesus, isn't about pushing people. Do you like to be pushed? Oh, do you like to be pushed anywhere? Like, do you want to be pushed to buy something? No, but making disciples is about gently pulling and drawing. There's a great word, wooing. We pull, we draw, we live a life that's compelling, that pulls people in. And the way we do that is we move outward. We're propelled outward into our neighborhoods, and we're propelled upward into intimacy with Jesus. And as we're ravished by Jesus and his goodness, as we become the people we created us to be, we naturally become the kinds of people others want to be. But it's never about pushing or forcing. Our sphere of influence, we're ambassadors. Let me just end with this thought. Our lives speak. Every waking moment, the way we act communicates something. Our lives tell a story. And so the question I have, what story is your life telling? I told you about a group of young people. They lived in a compelling way in the trajectory of that act of goodness. Who knows where that might end? It's a great glimpse, a picture of what it means to be a student, a follower of Jesus. Our lives are intended to be windows through which other people can see and experience the beauty of Jesus in his kingdom. And so here's the ending question. What is your life? What is your life saying to the world?